I'll call tonight's meeting of the North Highlands Recreation and Park District for the December in session. So our first thing on the agenda is approval of last month's meeting. So I don't think it's the only ones that were here is just me and Alan. I didn't see anything. That's what I meant to call you today, and Larry, and ask you. I mean, can I second being chairperson?
Well, and Crystal and Bo were actually at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
So
technically they can then, right?
yeah, they were there. They know what happened.
Right. Okay. I don't have anything different.
No, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Crystal seconds. I second.
Crystal second. Good. Any further discussion on it? Probably not. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Okay. All right, quick and simple. This first I want to welcome Crystal. Max, I finally get to see you. I've only seen you twice in the last 4 months. So welcome, Bo, welcome. Welcome to this board. I mean, this is something new for everybody at the Park District. I think having 3 nominations, 3 new people on the board. So welcome. We're a great group of people. We have great staff that once we implement the policies, it's them. They do a great job on enforcing it and making sure things get done. So, but I just wanted to welcome you 3 personally from the bottom of my heart. I'm stuck with you guys for at least two years because then my turn comes up. So hopefully I can get back in. But welcome. Okay, we'll go. Any comments from fellow board members? Yes, Alan.
I just wanted to add on to what you just said. The first few meetings, you might feel a little bit lost, but just hang in there because it'll take a while to kind of get the flow on what's going on. So don't worry about it.
And if you have questions, definitely just ask. You know, there's enough knowledge between everybody here tonight that could come up with the right answer. So, all right, number 5 on our agenda is standing committees. We haven't had any yet. So we'll just move on to the administrator's report. That'd be you, Larry.
A question about item number 5. Is there a time when we would be selecting committee chairpersons and members?
Larry, I'll let you.
Yeah.
Well, I can answer that.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is whoever the chair is for next year, at the January meeting, they appoint who the different committees are. So after tonight's meeting, the chair, you can send them an email, call them and say, I would like to be on this committee if possible. So that's the way that works.
Right.
Thank you.
Because I get to make the final decision or the decision, but I like getting, if somebody's interested in it, yeah, just like Alan said, shoot me an email and we'll go from there. Did it? You good? Good answer? I keep looking at your twin over there, so that's why, and she's not moving.
Thank you. Yes, it's clear.
All right, Larry?
oh, thank you, Pat. I won't read my report entirely on the Sierra Creek Park CEQA study and the Prop 68 grant application, but I did want, since that report has been written, and I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to read it, since that report's been written, we've had an update. The CEQA study has been entered into the state clearinghouse. the Sacramento County and ACOM, who is a subcontractor for Sacramento County, have uploaded the file documents and notices through the clearing portal. The 30-day review period began yesterday, and I've been advised by Sac County and ACOM that the district will be able to provide the board of directors with the CEQA study approval and certification on the February 11th board meeting. So that will put us a month in advance of the deadline of submitting the Prop 68 application, which the CEQA study is a requirement of that application. So good news, we've plowed through this. This process, this 30-day notice is for the public or anyone who wants to comment on it, and is handled through the state of California. Any responses that are received through the clearinghouse will go directly to Sacramento County and then back to us. And I can answer any questions that you have.
Would it be advised or advantageous for members of the board or community members to call in for public comment during the Board of Supervisors meeting to support this, or what would you advise for us to do?
Yeah, this does not go to the Board of Supervisors. We contract with Sacramento County Environmental Planning Department. We could have gone with an outside consultant, but actually the county provided a lower cost option to us. So they are contracted with us to provide this CEQA document. So it goes through the county only because the counties who we contracted with. If we'd gone to a private agency, it would have gone through them. So yeah, there's no lobbying necessary. We don't anticipate actually any questions through this process, but if they do, the county and ACOM will actually provide the response to it. The whole idea is to give a public notice of 30 days of the study. And if you were able to go onto this portal, you would find out there's lots and lots of CEQA studies that are in the portal also being reviewed and considered. So the goal is once this comes out after 30 days, then we can put it on the February agenda. The board would approve it, and that's the document. To make our application whole, we're required to provide an environmental study of the land where the property rather that the proposed park will be located. So it's been as the board can, Pat and Alan can tell you, this has been quite a lengthy process and a very detailed process. So we're near the finish line.
That's good. That's good. Any other questions?
So yeah, Larry, it sounds like this, and I know this to be true, that this is a normal and regular process for grant making and grant application, as well as being able to structure new sites. So I'm wondering, how do we communicate that to our neighbors? That when we make decisions to put parks in their neighborhoods or to better those parks in their neighborhood, we break that science down to say, this is what is the positive impact. These are some of the negative impacts that we mitigated. So how do we start to, because it's a lot of work that goes into this, and then there are also lots of benefits for our community. How do we bridge that gap so that we can do bigger projects, also argue for more things because we have a bigger neighborhood behind us?
That's a very good question, Bo, and Pat and Alan, please feel comfortable jumping in. This whole process, and I'll just take a minute to kind of frame this for you. This whole process for developing Sierra Creek Park began many years before I ever came to the district. But the one thing that's lacking, as with most projects, is the funding source. And we actually have two potential funding sources for this particular park. If you're familiar with where the vacant land is, where the future park will go, it's been kind of, it looks like it right now as it probably did 10, 15, 20 years ago. And we have, we looked at the Prop 68 application, and we are working with a firm in Sacramento that specialize on helping you put your application together, because this is a really competitive application process. And so we have two tracks that are kind of paralleling each other. One is we have to submit the application. before I think it's March 5th. I have to go back and check, but it's the first week of March, I believe.
First
And
week.
along with it, because we are looking at developing a new park, not improving an existing park, that's where the CEQA study comes in. You have to do an environmental study before you could begin building a park. And obviously the state doesn't want to grant us millions of dollars potentially for a project that hasn't begun the CEQA process. So I would say that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we started seriously looking at this project a little over 2 years ago. And one of the requirements for the grant, the Prop 68 grant. So when I say Prop 68 grant, think of the CEQA study as kind of a required attachment to that application. It must be part of it. But as far as the application goes, one of the requirements was that we had to hold 5 public meetings within a geographic area of the proposed park site. And that park, that we held the 5 meetings. There's a process we had to go to engage the public. I don't know how many hours we put into this, but quite a few. And from that, towards the end of the project, the goal was to have the public provide design concepts for what they would like to see in the park. Now, the district isn't mandated to say, just because they wanted to put a zoo in the middle of the park, that we're obligated to put a zoo in the middle of the park. But we need, part of the requirement was to get public feedback. We did that. That will be part of our application process, as well as a number of other requirements. Based on that, for this particular project, we've been advised that we are going to be very highly competitive for this. But I will tell you, the odds of getting a grant are probably in the 10% range, because everybody else is also, there's going to be probably well in excess of 100 applicants for the final funding for Prop 68. Now, I don't want to lose you with all this stuff, because Bo, you actually asked kind of a bigger question of how do we go about this process? That process is when, one, we have identified, the district has identified a site for a future park. Then we begin the process of where the funding source is. When we have a funding source available, then we begin normally the interaction with the community to do the same thing we did for Sierra Creek. Get input, feedback, what would they like to see in that park? So that way Larry Mazuka doesn't walk in there and say, I know what you want, that you want this and this is what you're going to get. Well, it doesn't work that way. It's a lot of public dialogue. And if we are successful and get the funding through the grant, then we will restart that process again by saying, okay, now we have a set amount of money to work with. Let's go back and talk about what you were interested in before, to reaffirm that you're still interested in that those elements, the park elements. But we will also have hired by then a design, a architect firm to help us through that process. And once we get a park design, once we've secured the funding, then we can begin construction on the park. Now, keep that in mind, Bo. Since I've been here for nearly 7 years, we've built one park. That, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the first new park that we built in 20 years?
Oh, probably over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
I've been out here almost 35, and yeah, Cherry Blossom has been it.
So now here's the good thing. We also have we have Sierra Creek Park that's waiting in the wings for funding. Now, I've just described to you a potential funding source with Prop 68. A long shot, but I think we have a good chance to get, we're applying for $2.9 million. That would be sufficient to cover the cost for the park design and to construct the park. It will not cover and cannot cover the cost to operate the park. That's a different story. But also across the street, if you're familiar with that site, there's an undeveloped site that used to be a former golf course. That site has received all its approvals for construction of a new development there. And part of that project, rather than have on-site park improvements, the developer worked with our district to provide funding for off-site park improvements. So the funding that we would receive for that development could be used for Sierra Creek Park as well. We would actually, through the fees, our current fees, we would generate approximately the same amount of money, about $3 million. So if we're unsuccessful with this this application for Prop 68 application, then we keep our fingers crossed and hope the developer begins developing that property so we can start generating money to do the same thing that I just described. But generally, Bo, you know, I think what's held this district back probably has been not a lack of effort, but a lack of money. And we just, you know, you can't build it if you don't have the money to build it. But as
I
you
agree.
built a brand new park, what was it, 2.5 years ago, Cherry Blossom Park. And that's a pretty nice looking park. And we've also renovated a number of parks in the last 5 years. So we're looking forward that we're hopefully between the two funding sources, we can get this new park. And this is going to be a big park. It's almost 7.5 acres. So we hope that we can begin that in the next couple of years. Long answer for a short question. I apologize.
No, thank you for that additional information and that framing, Larry. And I think, you know, when we're talking about not only the administrative work and kind of the professional work that has to go into doing kind of all of the making of the sausage in the background. We have to continuously remember this. The simplest thing is the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And the louder that we can be, meaning having our community members come together, the more folks that we can tell what the benefits are, get them engaged, and get other folks engaged. That's how you build those powerhouses. You have this big engine behind you, and so with a 7-acre project, it's going to be a wonderful place for a lot of folks in our community. And I think, you guys have gotten them engaged, and we just got to make sure that we're committed to keeping them engaged and following up with them. You know, they are stakeholders. They've given their input. And the way that you broke that down to me, being able to break it down to them, I know they would greatly appreciate.
Well, appreciate that. And I know that the community that lives in the area around Sierra Creek Park are extremely excited about a new park in that area. Not every community member will agree on every park amenity. They all have their own ideas. That's okay. That's how it all starts. And in the end, if you select the right park architect, landscape architect, they are usually pretty skilled at pulling people who have diverse ideas, pull them together for a common cause.
And I'll just tack on real quick so we can move on. Like I said, the neighbors in that area gave us a lot of good input at these meetings. And then when it came to, we told them, hey, let's draw us what you think you should want in this park. I mean, we had all kinds of ideas. So the neighborhood knows what they want. And now it's just going to be, we got to get the money to get to them so we can give them what they want. But like I said, we do these baby steps with this Prop 68. Let's get the grant going, get that money, because then we can start really moving forward with it. So, yes, Alan.
Yeah, just a couple of things I wanted to add. Like Pat just said, we had the neighborhood meetings. Board members attended all of those meetings. I attended 2. Pat, I think you did 2.
I did too.
Right. So we had at least one board member every meeting just, to talk to the constituents to see if they had any other issues with the district. And I had some interesting conversations. One of the things I wanted to add, the last park that we've done technically since I've been on the board was Freedom Park. And the only way that we were able to pay for that park is we sold a little bit of our property to the Aviation Museum. And part of the deal was any proceeds we got from that deal would go into develop that park. So it's like Larry says, it's always a funding issue. We just usually don't have any kind of funds to do big projects.
Any other questions so we can move on? We got a busy night tonight. All right. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Scott.
Well, outside my written report, I have nothing else to update the board on. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
You know me, Scott, I got a couple.
Okay.
So I always telling you, say the positives till the end. So I'll do my question. So I see we had some violations.
Mhm.
Okay, what my concern is that Knox box that you had to put for the fire department to be able to come in.
Yes.
Is that, I've never heard of anything like that, so
You know,
I was,
I had not either, Pat. And to give you an overview of what Pat is referring to, the fire inspection we had, which was related to the distance learning program and the community center. It's been 4 or 5 years since Sac Metro's been out, and they found some stuff that rightly needed to be updated. I think the Knox box is a fairly new tool that the local fire departments are using. It's literally a lockbox that we attach to the community center, and inside that box, which is only accessible by Sac Metro, there are keys to the front door and to every closet inside the community center. So they don't have to take their axes and smash through our doors
right.
to get access to put the fire out. So I was not aware of it, but it was a fairly smooth process ordering it. Sac Metro actually has to sign off on agencies that order them with the company that provides them. And then we received ours within 2 or 3 weeks, and it was a fairly simple installation. So we are now, it's probably something we'll look to use at all of our our indoor facilities. So,
Okay, so is it vandal proof?
it is. It's pretty sturdy. It's not very big, but it's mighty. So
Right. Okay. And then, like I said, my positive, I have been by obviously Brock Park,
mhm.
but Cherry always, obviously, my daughter lives right around the corner from there. So my granddaughter goes down there a lot. These parks just look lovely. I mean, even with the big windstorms, leaves, like you said, I've seen in your reports, the prunings that you've had to do. Yeah, commend your crew. Your crew has done to me, a damn good job.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, Pat, and I will definitely, in fact, I have a meeting with them tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and I will share your feelings with them. They don't hear that enough, I think, throughout the course of their busy work week, but you know, we're working a little bit shorthanded right now. But yeah, everyone's working as hard as they can and trying to stay on top of everything through a very, very difficult stretch of time from March until right now. So
And the good thing is they're working. You know,
they are working, definitely.
They're essential, and I'm glad they decided park districts were essential.
Yes,
You know, it gives us outlets for our kids or grandkids to go do something. So
I will share your comments with them first thing.
thank you.
Mhm.
I definitely agree with that. I was, like I've mentioned before, just impressed with how the look of the parks look and the maintenance. Wanted to know, what is the process for folks to share if they have any updates or maintenance requests for their parks, or if there are like swings or other amenities that are missing or need to be replaced? Is there a official process in how to inform the board or the district?
We're very accessible, Crystal. The easiest thing is just to pick up the phone and give me a call or send me an email. You know, we are very receptive to feedback from our constituents, and we'll try to jump on any concerns about maintenance issues or homeless issues or you know, things like that. In terms of a wish list of items, we do get those every once in a while. So most of them we're already aware of, and you know, we're looking to update or upgrade some of our parks with the limited funding we have. You know, putting some swings here and some other things there. But yeah, we're, you know, I am definitely an open door type person, and I welcome input from the community. We work for them, so you know, we want to hear both the good stuff and the bad stuff so we can get better.
If I could just weigh in there for a second, Crystal, just to give you a heads up, probably at the January meeting, Scott will be making a presentation to the board. We have a couple of parks that are missing swings, and we've been going through as a process of, is it better to just replace the missing swings, or is it that time where we need to just replace the whole swing set, the whole equipment? And you know, you'll probably get tired of me saying about budget, but you know, it's the same thing with building parks. If you don't have the money, you're not going to be able to do much. But simple things like that we can do, and we're in a process. Scott's been getting some price quotes on replacement equipment versus buying brand new equipment. And I believe at the January meeting, he'll be able to report back to the board and talk about the specific parks that are missing equipment and the process and the time frame of replacing that equipment.
Any other questions?
Any others? We good? All right, we'll go into C, the rec department, which is Sarah and Miss Rachel.
Besides my report, I do want to update the website portion. It is live and active, so if you haven't been to it, you should visit it. Already had to make updates to it with this new stay-at-home order and some of the new updates to regulations, and it's super nice just having the control, for lack of a better term. We could do whatever we want on it, and that's really nice. We did get some really great news. About 2 o'clock, I got an email from Twin Rivers. We had been going back and forth on them whether or not the distance learning support program was going to be able to be funded in the second semester, because the CARES Act grant they received to fund this program, they had to spend all of it by December 31st. So they are going to be funding the second semester of the program. So that is really, really, really great news. You know, that program is super important to those 30 families, not to mention the 20 part-time staff members that rely on the paycheck. And the experience they're getting is going to earn them a higher and better paycheck in the future, because what we're doing has never been done before. And it's a true testament to Rachel and her team and all the effort that they put in. You know, we were super bummed about not being in session this week, but we know that when we come back January 4th, it's going to be great, and the kids are really looking forward to it. So those are my updates on our report. Unless, Rachel, I'm kind of putting you on the spot. If there's anything you want to add, you can. Not
No, she's
necessary if you don't
gonna
want
be
to.
quiet tonight.
That's fine. But other than that, I'm happy to answer questions and anything you may have.
So I got a chance to talk to Sarah just when I called into the office earlier last week, I believe it was. And I was on this new site, very impressed by it, very accessible,
Thank you.
not intimidating. It doesn't make you feel like, you know, after I click one or two things, if I can't find it, then just forget it. Yeah, great job. If this is where we're starting, I can't wait to see what it looks like in 3 months, 6 months, and moving forward. As for the program,
Appreciate that.
yeah, and thank you. The way you presented it was like, oh, it's, you know, no really big deal. This is our link to the world right now. We're all inside, you know, and yes, we can pick up the phone, but you would be amazed at how many people are now intimidated by picking up the phone and calling another person.
It's crazy.
Yeah, having that other option, having that information posted somewhere else in a non-intimidating way, I think is really essential. So good job with you and your team and the folks who've been working on that. The after school program, I'm very happy. There's some concerns all over the county about the December. I've heard December 30th and December 31st date to be the closeout for the CARES Act dollars. And so I'm very glad that the school district was able to find the funds and step up with that. And I think it also makes us aware of any future funds that we get, and hopefully we will get more COVID pandemic relief funds. Just being aware of now we have a track record. We kind of know what we need a little bit more ahead of time. And so just thinking ahead, if we need to expand, what expansion looks like, having those continued conversations. I'd like to hear more about that in the coming weeks.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Rachel.
Hey, I just want to touch on, you know, Crystal
Thanks,
Bow and Max. That group of staff that Larry has is a pretty damn good staff. I mean, they're always available anytime. All you have to do is call or just email Larry. Hey, I want to talk to Sarah about this, or hey, Scott, you know, can I, you know, Larry runs a pretty tight ship there. And when I say tight, he lets him do what he wants. Right, ladies? You know, I mean, oh, there you are, Rachel. You moved over.
Us.
That's right.
He's
Someone
got
left.
trust in us. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but like I said, even with Scott, Scott, you can tell what kind of work he does by how the parks are looking. And then these two girls have just done a wonderful job just getting that program going, So, but I put a lot of that on Larry because hey, we tell Larry, hey, this is what we want, and Larry has a crew and gets it done. I mean, it's just a phenomenal group. All you have to do is, bottom line, call them. Hey, you got a minute? Yes or no? I mean, we got a great group, and you three are going to learn that within your next 4 years. Yes, Alan.
Yeah, I agree with you, but keep in mind though, as board members, we're supposed to be going everything through Larry, because
Right.
if we contact a staff person, ask them to do something, it's going to take an hour, then it's not fair because Larry's giving work to do too. So if it's a quick question, obviously you can just call them and ask them. But anything major, it should go through Larry. We had a board member quite a long time ago that would go in and start asking for files and asking for stuff. And it got to be a real bad situation. So just as new board members, just keep that in mind. I know Larry'd love to hear from everybody all the time. So
It's not like he does anything.
No,
but again,
thank you both.
he's got to expect that we have 3 new board members. You all have different questions, and so Pat and I are always available too if you just have questions. So
right.
Yeah, thank you. And I love the format of the board meeting because it allows kind of the entire team or the entire leadership team to hear the thinking and hear some of the same
Right.
things at the same time. And then, Sarah happened to pick up the phone. There was absolutely no way I was not going to congratulate her on such a fine
Right.
website launch. I've tried to launch some websites before in my past, and they can be challenging. So I hear you. So I look forward to, Larry, working with you and your entire team. And again, I'm glad that we're all able to be here and hear the same thing and have a fuller discussion.
I know Terry always likes to get phone calls, so call Terry all the time.
Well, I do want to point out that our staff are highly motivated by food. So anytime you want something, you want it quick, food is always a good avenue.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, just from my experience when I was campaigning and trying to access stuff on the website, it would be very frustrating where I'd click and there'd be an error, or I had to actually touch something at the top and not the drop down. So I know Sarah, she saw my post. I was so excited when I saw like changes in the website. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. She's like, wait, it's not all the way done. I'm like, it's not even done, and it looks amazing, like really clean, sleek, easy to navigate. So thank you so much. And I'm so glad when I stopped by today, I had an opportunity to check out the room, the site where the students are. And I definitely do agree. This is definitely an opportunity for folks to learn, Twin Rivers and other school districts and rec programs to learn from a model like this to build and to enhance other sites. But this is really amazing. And I'm appreciative for the work that you all are doing with our families and our students.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll pass that along as well.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the budget and expenditure revenue report. That's something we get every month for you 3. You'll get used to seeing it in there, and it's just in 30 words or less, Larry.
It looks great. No, we'll talk. Yeah, it's you have the documents in front of you, and I know it's hard to read and understand them if you haven't walked through them before. But I think when we have our budget workshop in early January, we will have an opportunity to, prior to that meeting, in a staff report, to help you better understand our budget and what these numbers mean and these expenditures. So that way, when we have to make decisions for the final 6 months of the budget cycle, you're going to be much more aware of what all this means. So I'll leave it to that until the January meeting.
Okay, perfect. All right, next correspondence.
Hang on, Alan has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alan. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to add, when you look at those, just keep in mind that we only get our property tax allocation twice a year, and we should be getting our first one, what's the beginning of February? Larry?
January.
It
January.
is January? Okay.
January, and the second one will be in April.
Well, property taxes are due in April. I don't know if we get our payment in April. I don't
Terry-
think we get it until May or June.
Terry, you gotta unmute yourself if you're talking.
We can all move our lips, Terry, but you have to unmute.
She may be having some technical problems, but yeah, we do get, as Alan said, we get a property tax twice a year. And so you'll see a lot of zeros on the financial reports. Those will fill in quickly. And keep in mind, about 80% of all our district revenues come from property tax or related taxes.
Right.
So yeah, sometimes if you don't understand that, it looks like, gee, they're not making any money. But keep in mind, that other 20%, that's why we're having a lot of discussions at that January budget hearing, budget workshop, because we need to talk about that other 20%.
Is the amount from property taxes always the same? Like, is this the same percentage, or does it vary based on year to year?
You want me to take this question?
Alan, it's all yours.
Okay. So, Crystal, what will happen is, depending on the valuation, the assessed value by the assessor's office, that's the amount of money we get. So prior to 2007 and 8, we actually got quite a bit of money, but after the real estate downturn, our property tax revenue went down quite a bit. Lately, it's been increasing a little bit every year, but not huge jumps. So that's kind of how it all works.
Okay, good. Max, you're pretty quiet, baby. We're going to have to get you motivated. We got to get you motivated, Max. All right, we'll go to correspondence.
I see that Terry is unmuted now. I just wanted to capture whatever she was going to share with us.
Oh, we get the second taxes in April. That's what I was going to say.
It is in April?
It is in April.
Because, I mean, the property tax payments aren't due until April 10th, and I didn't think we got it till May.
It varies sometimes. Used to get them in December and then in April. And now we get them in January and in April.
Okay, good. All right, our chair just left.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here I come. I'm sorry. I had to step away for a quick sec. All right. Correspondence A, letter, Larry.
You have a letter from the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission, also known as LAFCO. They have 7 vacant seats for what they call Office B, which our district falls within. If anyone has an interest in being considered for one of those seats, there is a process described in your attachment in your board agenda that will tell you what you need to do. And you have until February 15th, 2021 to submit your application.
Isn't this under new business item A?
Yes,
Right.
that's under.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's I'm just
Taking this under new business item A then.
Oh,
Yeah, we did jump the gun on that one.
Yeah.
correspondence. The letter.
Yeah,
The
but it's under new business, Pat.
Oh, well, Larry's got me on that.
The board
That
has
is A. Okay, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Make my job difficult. All right, then we'll go to correspondence B. Right?
Yeah, yes, that's just something you'll see. That is a letter from Matt Duarte, who is the California Association of Recreation Park District, also known as CARPD, regarding a board vacancy as well.
And isn't it this one you have to put a lot of time in it?
Yeah, this one it takes quite a bit of time. I think they said they meet 4 or 5 times a year plus the annual conference, but it's a pretty active board.
Okay.
Does the district have a preference on which boards members serve on, or which of these committees or commissions, or?
This is all volunteer. If you want to volunteer for it, step up to the plate. Yeah, you're more than welcome.
In the past, have we had board members on these positions or serving in this capacity?
Well, Larry, I'll let you, since you're one of them.
Well, I actually serve as the vice chair for the Capri board, which is our insurance company, if you want to call that provides insurance to special districts. But the CARPD, that's yes, which basically you just have to show an interest. You submit a letter. They have a committee that will review those, and they will select from that particular committee. That's a very competitive one. Truthfully, they're looking for board members who have some experience, because you with the issues that they deal with, they're pretty intensive, and it's good to come in with a little bit of background. However, there are ones like the earlier one, the LAFCO. I think they're just looking for people who are currently board members on special districts that have an interest, and with 7 vacancies, I would hope that if one of our board members was interested in pursuing this, that hopefully they would have a good shot at getting one of those 7 seats.
That answer. Oh, Alan.
Yeah, Crystal, just to add, there's also other boards and committees and commissions that we can be a part of. There's CSDA, California Special District Association. There is the County Treasury Oversight Committee. So there are a lot of different opportunities that, you know, if you want to get involved in other things, that you can do.
It's never ending. All right, no other questions. We'll go to C, which is Capri.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out to the board that we received a approximate $1,200 discount for our third quarter premium billing for workers' compensation. I'd like to tell you that's because we've done some great things in our district, but I'll be real honest with you, and it's more of a reflection on due to COVID-19 and a lot of districts having to reduce staff numbers. It's a reflection of fewer staff, and that's our premium is based on the number of employees that are being covered by workers' comp. But I'll still take the $1,200 because that's something
right.
that we would like to have.
Okay, any other questions? All right, next one on the agenda is number 8, comments and reports from citizens and organization. I know we have Lance, but Lance is on here. So we had nothing else, right, Larry?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll bypass. We haven't forgot about you, Lance. All right, number 9, unfinished. We don't have any unfinished business.
Question, I'm so sorry. When there is a public comment and we're doing it on the Zoom platform, folks still need to email Larry to let them know they're interested in speaking. They can't
just on when we do the Zoom, right? Yeah, by 3 o'clock of the day.
They need to express interest that they would like to make a public comment.
Yes.
And then at this time, they would be allowed to unmute and speak.
If I could address that real quick, there's 2 parts to this. One is for items on the agenda. So, and Pat just mentioned that Lance is waiting to answer potential questions from the board. It's because there is an item on the agenda that actually has to do with Lance and his business. However, if somebody wanted to speak and for items not on the agenda, just a general update, general comment, then they can contact me by 3 o'clock the day of the board meeting. Let me know. I forward that question to all of you, for all the board members, so they know. And then you can, Pat would normally be the one that would ask the question. You could talk about the question, but keep in mind, you can't take action on that item because it was not on the agenda. Yeah, you're going to get used to items that you can address and items that you can't, but you could then direct staff to come back with that sort of thing.
And they only get 3 minutes, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, next, new business. Now, we can pull Lance out of order, can't we?
Yeah.
Since he's been sitting here waiting patiently. So Sarah, if you can unmute Lance, we will, we're gonna go, instead of 10A, we're gonna jump straight down to 10D from All-Star Specialties Events and Lease. Larry, why don't you give us a little update first?
Okay, I'm going to assume that everybody had a chance to read the report, because I think the report is pretty straightforward and provides you with enough detail. But I did want to point out, just to highlight a couple things. Prior to Lance and All-Star Special Events coming under a lease with the district, we had nothing but problems with our previous tenant. I mean, literally nothing but problems. Yeah. I can say that since that person has left and Lance and his wife have come on board, it's been a breath of fresh air. Payments are always on time, or as Terry tells me, we receive them before they're due. They have invested over $100,000 into the facility of their own money, and everything was going well, and then COVID-19 hit, and one of the programs that it impacted was youth sports. And primarily, and Lance could certainly weigh in on this when he comes in, but primarily they are in the girls softball business, and that was prohibited. So essentially, over the last 10 months, it's been really, there's been no activity involved in girls softball. So if Lance isn't generating money, then he has obviously a concern of being able to pay the district his contractual lease agreement. So the board last summer worked with Lance and basically waived approximately 6 months of fees. And we did draw down from a $5,000 deposit over that period of time. But we did acknowledge that Lance would have to come back at the December meeting to address the board as a status of where he's at. Well, we talk enough to know that they still haven't been released by local government and state government to resume girls softball. It's, you know, the rent is starting January 1st is $5,200 a month. And if you have no money coming in, and that's not the only cost. You keep in mind, he also has to pay operating costs for the lights, the water, the staff that he has employed there. So where we're at is Lance and his wife Stephanie and I have been in communication over the last month or so, and I explained to him that that when we don't get paid, then we are unable to pay our obligations as well, and that I encouraged him to come forward with something that he could put on the table for the board to consider. You can see that in the written report that I've given you, that excuse me, for a series of payments over the next 5 months, All-Star Special Events is proposing to pay the district $16,000 of the $26,000 that would typically be due. Well, I would like to have the $26,000, but I also am realistic to know that he has no money coming in right now. And if for some reason, and hopefully not, that if the lease was broken by the tenant, those maintenance costs and those utility costs that currently they are paying, especially Events is paying, would then fall under the responsibility of the district. So we can go from a situation of having some revenue coming in or having no revenue and having at least that much or more in out-of-pocket costs, which we don't have as ourselves. So in the conversations that Lance and I had, he and his wife have proposed monthly payments spread out over 5 months that will generate $16,000 to the district. The goal is that, and we are, believe it or not, starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel regarding this. Our goal is that come June, hopefully things have improved and girls softball has resumed and Lance can begin running his tournaments again. And then again, starting paying the lease payments to the district. So what you have before you is a recommendation that we accept the payment schedule that has been presented by Lance, and that we continue to negotiate as things get better to resume normal payment operations. But I'd like to offer Lance an opportunity to weigh in on this and for the board to ask Lance any questions.
I don't have a whole lot to say, meaning I think everybody kind of understands COVID's affected everybody's life. And it, unfortunately, being in the youth sports business, I was very unaware that there was ever a potential to not be running, since obviously I think there's a lot of first times with COVID affecting everybody's families and businesses. But we are a long-term client. We're willing to sign a longer lease. So you guys know that we're in it for the long haul. We've invested everything we got emotionally and financially, and I'm there on a daily basis trying to improve the park and get the kids back into sports at all costs. So I understand that everybody's in the same bind financially, but we feel we've made a proposal that is maybe not necessarily fair from where we were, but doing the fact with the COVID and where we're at with potential, I think we see light at the end of the tunnel. Like Larry said, that hopefully by February, maybe even March at the latest, that we'll finally be back running full. So hopefully we can continue with a strong payment. Our payment system was really just tiered for knowing that we'd get a startup fairly soon. And we really feel that's going to happen with the vaccine coming out. And then hopefully the government just lightens up on the kids and lets them to school. So I appreciate everybody hearing and listening and putting in the extra time to deal with it. I see Alan's got a hand up, so go ahead, Pat.
Actually, my hand up was for Pat. I want to go ahead and make a motion to approve the $4,000 a month per month, but for a total of $16,000 for the 5 months.
Well, just a quick moment. So one question I have is this a forgiveness of the rest of the portion that is due, or are we looking to have that paid later in the year or a part of a lease agreement that goes on into next year?
It was my understanding it was only a reduction, and we're not asking for the difference back in the future.
Okay. And you mentioned a longer term lease. What's the current lease and what is this longer term that you are willing to enter into? Lance?
Well, Lance, go ahead. I just, his extended, we got him for at least, I think 2 more years. So we'll be getting back to that more the year before it expires. We'll get to it. I mean, I don't want to say, we don't want to answer your question, Bo, but his extended, we're trying to just get through his contract now, trying to help him get motivated. I mean, not motivated, but give him some reduction in his rent so we can at least try and do something, stay afloat. Because
if we
just
ahead. Wanted to make sure I got that I had clarity on the things
yeah.
that
Oh yeah, no problem
to us and his overall situation. So
right.
Thank you.
He's struggling like the rest of them out there. Yes. There's no doubt. My only question is, Lance, well, I got 2 really. The first one, didn't they say come January they can start practicing outside?
I think January 29th is when they're going to really turn youth sports open more. But yes, right now we are able to still be practicing. But, you know, with COVID going on, a lot of families are kind of standoffish, let's say. So right. I think in sports, most all of the managers or coaches kind of leave that up to optional for the families to decide for their own self if they feel like it's safe for their own player to come out, their own child.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was just, because there's so much, this COVID thing changes daily almost. So yeah, I was curious. But my concern is I like what's being proposed. I have no problem with that. But what's going to come happen in June? You know, if it's still here affecting us, you know, we help all of our tenants out that we've had that have contracts with us and everything. But I don't think we can get, even with the other ones, we can't keep coming back to things. I'm just hoping this COVID thing's gone. I mean, come February, March, I want my wife back in teaching in school. I want my grandkids in school. I retired for a reason. It wasn't to sit at home with COVID thrashing out there. But, so we got a motion to approve.
Can I
Yes.
interrupt? Sorry. What I would suggest to the person making the motion to kind of stick with the script under the recommendation. There is no $4,000 per month. I just want to point it out. It's actually for a total of $16,000 over the 5-month period. So that way, it's very clear.
I'm sorry, I thought you said that's what it was based on, but that's fine.
It's a 5-month, a different scale for each month.
Okay.
Temporary reduction.
That's fine. So I can say the scale, I'll amend my motion. So January is 5,200, February is 4,200, March is 3,200, April is 2,200, and May is 1,200.
And Crystal, that's page 47 of 68.
I'm on the page. I was just
Okay.
wondering, is there a reason why it's tiered that way? I wanted to ask before he made his motion.
Well, no, we haven't seconded it, so we're good right now. I mean, we always have discussion. After we do, we'll have a motion, we'll have a second, then I'll put out there any further discussions, and that's where you could come in and say, hey, I got a question, and he'll be able to answer, because then we'll vote on it. It'll be yay or nay. So we got Alan that gave a motion. We need a second.
Max will second.
Max will second. Thank you, Max. And now I'm going to say any other discussions. Crystal, your question.
Is there a reason why the payments are tiered in that fashion?
Yeah, Crystal, they're tiered more for, we just feel that COVID's gonna be over and they're gonna let the kids back into youth sports. So we're offering full price in January, a little discount in February if COVID does not let us open up, and a little discount more in March if it keeps taking. So it's really just to financially keep our business from going under. I mean, that's kind of where most businesses obviously are at. It's hard to pay rent when there's no income. And we thought it was going to be 14 days at the start in March, like I think everybody here. But unfortunately, looks like we're all healthy and semi-happy. So at least we're all here and ready for the next mission, whatever COVID takes us.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye, Max.
Oppose? None? Okay. Well, Max, it sounds like we got us a deal. I mean, Lance, I'm looking at Max and Bo. And
Thank
Great.
you,
Well,
Lance.
thank you guys so much for believing in us, and we promise we'll be your best clients. As soon as COVID's over, we'll be back and getting kids their sanity back. So thank you guys for letting us attend the meeting and taking your special time up. You guys all have a great night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Lance.
All right.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you. Bye-bye.
all right, let me go back. Now the next one, we'll go back to new business A, the LAFCO nomination. That's where I made a mistake. Gosh forbid. I'm fired. Oh, I lost it now. Where'd it go, Larry? Where did I lose it to? Help me.
Going back
Sure,
up to
sure.
page 19 for the LAFCO.
Pat?
So I have a question. Crystal, would you be interested in this?
Yes, I would be interested.
Are you aware of what LAFCO does?
I pulled it up when I was reading through the agenda to see some of the things that they were talking about. It's different from what you read and what they actually talk, like what the meetings are about. Do
Right.
you have more information you'd like to share?
Okay, so for example, when McClellan Air Force Base closed, we annexed the Air Force Base property, and it's now part of our district. We had to go to LAFCO in order to do that, and LAFCO had to approve that. Anytime there's a district boundary change, as Larry knows that someone was trying to get some changes done, LAFCO is the one that does that. Well, I'll go ahead and nominate Crystal to be a nominee for the LAFCO board then.
This is the one with the 7 vacancies, right?
No,
I think this only has one.
one vacancy. It's the other
Three.
is the CARPD has the CARPD is one, CRDPD is one, and
I see LAFCO has 3,
LAFCO has
7.
seven vacancies.
Oh, the vacancies.
I'm also interested in LEVCO and making sure that we're all on the same page. This is the one with the 7 positions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And CARPD, am I saying it right? I may have gotten those letters wrong. They have 1 position that's available, and that application deadline is the 31st of December.
Correct.
That's something you just submit yourself.
Right.
Right. Well, I'll nominate Bo. You know, I mean,
And I meant as well as Crystal. I'm interested as well.
Just for clarification, there is no limit on the number of board members that can apply. That'll obviously those will be determined and selected by the LAFCO committee. So there's nothing prohibiting more than 1 board member from applying.
Great.
However, it looks like the recommendation comes from, like board chairperson has to sign off on it and support that. Is that accurate?
well, we're gonna nominate you. That's all I need to do, right, Larry, Alan?
That's what it says on here. We just,
Yeah.
the governing board, we nominate whoever. And if Larry's correct and we could do 2 people, I don't have a problem with doing both Crystal and Bo then.
Yeah. You know, then
They will-
Terry will have me sign paperwork and she'll turn it in.
There has to be attached resume from the nominees.
Oh, I see it right down at the bottom.
Right.
Yes.
So that's what you 2 need to do for us. And then Terry will call me because I got to sign off on it, which, I mean, we're signing off on it tonight anyways, but to make it official. So once your resumes are turned in, Terry will either email me or call me and I'll come sign off and she'll send it in, right?
Yes.
For clarification, we've been provided with 1 form. There's nothing prohibiting us from making more forms.
Right,
So-
right.
You each have a form in your packet already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you read the subject matter, you'll see there's 7 seats, and that there is a subcommittee that will of the membership that will review all the applications, and then what they're asking you to do is when you send them this form right here, which you all have, then you need to attach your resume. But Pat is correct. Before you can send it in, he has to sign as board chairperson that the board of directors nominated and approved both Bo and Crystal to apply for these positions.
I can fill out the forms, just Pat would have to come in and sign, and then just need the resumes.
Correct. That's how it probably should be done.
Yes.
Okay. Will I come in tomorrow, Terry?
Well, I'm gonna need the,
You're
Well,
not
I
here,
won't be-
Terry.
I won't be here tomorrow. I'll be here Monday.
I'm a busy
So-
man.
so-
I'm getting tired, Terry. I don't know. I'll have to check with my secretary.
Okay.
So just a little info for Crystal and Bo, when you do your resumes, make it so it would pertain to LAFCO, not just necessarily what you've done in your current jobs.
Good. Perfect. Thank you 2 for volunteering.
So do we technically should then nominate and vote then, correct?
Correct.
Is that
Now
what it's-
vote on both.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and just not put in one motion, nominate Crystal and Bo for the LAFCO board.
Okay. I mean, I'll second.
Yeah, anybody can second.
I'll second. So any other discussion? Any volunteers? Any more, Max?
No, I'm already serving on other boards. Yeah.
All right. No, I'm
Thank you,
just
yeah.
kidding. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Max.
Okay, good. So just, we need your resumes brought into Terry and we'll go from there. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, next thing on the agenda, PG&E proposal for an easement. Larry.
Yeah, it's not common for utility companies to approach the district about acquiring an easement on our property. Generally, this is based on their utilities run through our property. And so they're not buying the property, they're just paying for the easement. And that basically means that they have basic access to that site. And there's a process they go through when they need to get to it. In this case, my understanding is there's some older gas pipes that are underground and they want to update those. And in the process, they want to memorialize that through a easement agreement. And I know the price sounds pretty low at $600, but there is a formula that they use to calculate that. So think about it this way. It's almost like somebody's paying for a right to have access to something in case they have to, but they're not going to build a house on it. They're not going to build a new building on it. It has to remain open for public access. And when they get done replacing all the underground utilities, they will restore it to as close as they can to the current condition.
Okay, I have two questions here. One, so they're responsible for everything. So if, say, a child or someone trips over their product, they're the ones that are held responsible, not us, the park district.
Well, you'd have to develop some sort of proof that how that child was injured.
Right. But
right.
I mean, so if they're buying this easement from us, I mean, okay. Yeah, I read their contract. It was pretty good. Well, my question I had for Alan was, is that a proper, the way they figured out the price? Is that a common thing, Alan?
The only other easement that we've dealt with, as far as I've been on the board, was at Brock Park, where I'm trying to remember who it was who has the easement now, if it's SMUD or PG&E or WART, I don't even remember. But because of that, what we got out of that was the shade structure at Brock Park. That's what paid for that shade structure, was the amount we got for the easement. So yeah, I mean, usually easements are, I mean, technically I have an easement on my property because I have our community mailbox on my property, and on my deed, it shows a 12-foot square easement for the United States Post Office. I mean, that's all that an easement is they can use it, but you still technically own that property.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, let me let you three know. I asked Alan a lot of questions because it is over 30 years. He worked for the county doing money. So, and plus he's been on this board since the day I was born, it seems like.
Yeah, well, let's not get nasty about it.
But he's a tax guy, and that's why I asked him those kind of questions, because he's used to numbers. Say, oh yeah, that's and hey, that's all I need to hear, Alan. That's how it is.
Right.
So okay, no, I'm good with that. So I need someone to.
I'll make a motion to approve the easement by PG&E.
Max will second.
Any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Max.
Okay. Okay, that passed. And we'll go to C. The 1920 North Highlands Rec and Park District Partial Tax Report, Larry.
Sure. Actually, for clarification, 2019 to 2020, it's we have a contract with SDI Consulting Group to prepare and submit our annual report for Cherry Blossom Park. And you're probably familiar, if you haven't been there yet, Cherry Blossom Park is the new park we built a few years ago, and it's located in the Alberta Park subdivision. So when I say Alberta Park, it's for the subdivision, but Cherry Blossom Park is actually the park that's located there. We contract SEI to prepare the documents. it goes directly to the county, to the Board of Supervisors, as it does for all of the other special districts that have an agreement in which they have to provide similar documents. So in this case, I was advised that the board would need to take a vote to accept as presented because it's actually already been presented to the County Board of Supervisors. This is an annual report. You'll see this every year.
Okay. So I just, so basically just a motion and a second and the discussion, we'll go from there.
Yeah, just we vote as to accept, not to a vote to approve.
Right.
Right. So does everyone understand what this document actually is?
Yes.
Crystal, you look a little confused.
She wants to ask.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you please give me a general overview?
Sure, no problem. So what we did is we established what's known as a community facilities district, commonly known as a Melrose district. So if you ever heard that term, so everybody in that development pays an annual tax that goes on their property tax bill to help us pay for the maintenance of the park and the greenscape in that development. So this is just calculating how much goes on the property taxes for next year. Larry, am I correct on everything I said?
You nailed it.
Okay.
And my daughter says it's too much money.
And Larry says it's not enough.
Yeah.
Well, Bo makes a motion to accept.
I'll
we have-
second.
Motion, we got a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye, Max.
Aye.
And just for clarification too, just so you know, we don't arbitrarily set these numbers every year. They're in an agreement to reflect basically the cost of interest, and it's based on a section of a geographic section in the state of California. So as the cost of living index goes up, we generate a few more dollars. This thing seems to change along $10 to $15 a year in assessed value or property tax. So just to let you know that we don't arbitrarily just select a number of what we're going to charge.
And
Okay.
and the area is now defined. This is I'm sorry, we're finished with the motion, right?
No,
I have a general question for Larry.
Go ahead, Bo. Go ahead.
Yeah.
The area is already defined. That would not expand in the future to include other homes or other residences, right? So when we're talking about a fluctuation, we always know it's going to be very, very small, $10 to $15 per property.
Well, the build out for this development occurred last year in last year's budget cycle. Prior to that, we were getting so many homes that were built every year. So when we reach build out, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 225 homes that are assessed the Melrose tax, and that tax then can only be adjusted by a annual cost of living increase. So yeah, that could change. But generally speaking, you don't see a great fluctuation in the annual cost of living increase. It could be 0, it could be 2 or 3%.
It's like our pay raises from our boss. Very little, if any, but something.
One thing I want to clarify that Bo asked is, can that be expanded? Well, the only way it can really be expanded is, for example, Larry was talking about the old Lawrence Links golf course, which is now empty, that's suited for development. Now, either we could establish a new one for that property, or I thought at one point Larry was said that we can include them in that rate too. I'm not sure if that's correct.
Well, actually, remember, we did last year, the board took action to create a second community facilities district for that area. So it's
Right.
a separate one. Normally, we have the ability to piggyback off an existing one, but this one was unique because it was off-site park improvements. So our SCI recommend to us that we create a separate, communities facilities district. And so that's what the board has done. So we've created 2 of these in the last 4 years.
Right.
One is active and the other will become active once construction begins.
Thank you both.
But to continue on, Larry, the property next to the current Elvarta Park development, if that gets sold, that may go into Elvarta Park 2016-01, right?
Yes, if the board was to determine that the type and the scale of the park improvements, the park amenities that would be built within that new subdivision were similar in nature to the one next door at Cherry Blossom, then we could simply have to just simply piggyback off the existing one and tie that in. And the reason I say is tied into the type of amenities that are built. If there are fewer amenities built in a new park, you wouldn't want to necessarily charge those homeowners the same amount of money that you're charging in Cherry Blossom Park, which may have more amenities. And the reverse is true. If a new development were to add more park amenities, well, we may not want to just piggyback. We may feel there's a value in charging more.
Good. All right. Then we'll move down to E, election of board officers for the 2021. Now, Larry, I'll let you talk real quick on this because I don't think it's going to be that long.
No, there are three. I think it was Crystal that brought this up earlier. So there's two things that are going to happen. Tonight is the annual board election of officers. There are 3 officers. Those are voted on by the board of directors. Tonight, and again in January meeting, are the committee assignments with Pat adequately covered earlier, that he makes those assignments as the chairperson. So what you have before you now, there are 3 positions: a chairperson, a vice chairperson, and a secretary. The board policy states that the board chairperson will serve a 2-year term. Pat is just finishing up tonight the first of his 2-year term. So Pat would be the chairperson for the next, basically as a calendar year. So Pat, that position is not up for a vote. What you do is you have the next position, which is vice chairperson, which serves a 1-year term. And the reason I appreciate Pat letting me weigh in on this one's a little unique. Zachary Smith, who was previously on the board but had to resign because he moved out of the area. Zachary was the vice chair at that time. When he left, that created a vacancy. And according to district policy, the board then is required to vote to temporarily fill that position until the next election. The board voted to put Alan Matre in that position for I think it was the final 4 months of the fiscal year or the calendar year. So, yeah, so that became a little tricky because our board policy doesn't address what happens if somebody leaves midterm. I'm taking the position that as the administrator, that position, that if Alan chose to say want to serve in that position again and the board agreed with it, that Alan could be nominated and be selected by the board to fill it, because he was actually just filling a vacancy at the time. The third position, which is secretary, and one of the main functions of the secretary is you get to sign a lot of documents at the end of the week. And you get to come in, and since we're on Zoom, you get to come in during the day and come and sign documents. Pat and Alan both have been secretary at some time. So anyhow, tonight we have 2 positions open: the vice chair position and the secretary position, and each will serve a 1-year.
And I'm going to start. I want to nominate Alan to stay in that VP spot.
Hold on, before we go there. Hold on.
Go ahead. Oh, Alan, yes.
I have to disagree with Larry because your chair is up for nomination this year. If you go to policy 4060.1, the term of the chairperson limited to 2 consecutive 1-year terms, not to exceed 2 years in total. It does not say it's a 2-year term. So all 3 positions are up this year. We changed this policy within the last probably couple years. Terry, if you remember, you may want to jump in on when that was. Because the reason we did this, and we didn't want someone as the chair for longer than 2 years.
Right.
It didn't say they had to be, it was a 2-year term, and they just couldn't be the chair for 2 years, more than 2 years.
So the third sentence of policy number 4060.1
I just
says the term of the chairperson is limited to 2 consecutive one-year terms, not to exceed 2 years total.
Correct.
Right, and I see down at the bottom, it's effective December 19th. So yeah, I do remember that one.
Yeah.
So mine is open.
Yours, yeah, definitely it's open.
So all 3 positions are open.
All 3 positions are open.
That is a unique way that was written, because I thought it was intended by the board to have that chairperson serve as 2 years, but I can see where it's not crystal clear in definition, but that is how I remember it. But again, this is what it says, and if the board choose to read it the same way as Alan described it, then in that case, the chairperson, the vice chairperson, and the secretary position would be open.
So based on that, I'm going to nominate Pat as the chair for next year.
So we can do this one per.
Yeah, one at a time.
One at a time.
I mean, I'll take it for another year because I'm still learning this spot.
Right.
We need a second on the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Max will second. So any other discussion on me? Good, because I'm faced here. I'm in front of you guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Coach.
all in favor? Aye.
Hi, Max.
Okay, so I'll be chair, and I'd like to nominate Alan for VP. Only the fact that he's got 20 plus years around here. He's the encyclopedia.
I'll second.
So, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hi, Max.
Aye.
Abstain.
So the next one we have a secretary.
I
It's got to be
volunteer.
new people.
Thank you, Crystal. I see you saying, nodding your head.
I'll nominate Crystal.
Oh, man.
I accept.
Okay. Any other discussion? No. All in favor?
Hi, Max. Thank you,
Thank
Crystal.
you, Crystal. We're going to keep you busy.
Just out of clarification, who's second, Crystal?
I second.
Oh,
Both did.
okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So, all right. The next thing is, we're getting there. We're getting there. F, the 2020-2021 district budget workshop proposal meeting dates.
You have heard, I think the board has heard entirely enough from me about the workshop that we need to schedule in early January. What I have before you is 2 options. It doesn't have to be either one of these 2 dates. I was just trying to get it in before the January board meeting in case any decisions that you made at the workshop could then be incorporated into the January board meeting agenda.
I mean, I see the Thursday one. I have no problem with that Thursday. Well, like I said, we have new. I mean, how does Bo, Crystal, Max? I mean, does January 7th sound good, or do you want to take a Saturday, go in on a Saturday?
I would like to suggest a Saturday, but I can make either work.
Same here. Just let me know. My schedule is flexible.
Saturdays are difficult for me, but like you, Bo, I mean, hey, come to this park district or whatever it takes for me to do it, I'll do it. But I prefer during the week at night. It just seems like I'm more busier being retired. And I have that nighttime as my quiet time coming here. So if no, I mean, we can do that Thursday, January 7th, if nobody has. Now, just because it says 3 hours, it might not take 3 hours. It could take an hour and a half, but I love this group we got now because there's definitely going to be a ton of questions, and that's perfect. New faces, new ideas. It's perfect. So I guess, yes, Alan.
Yeah, let's do
So
Thursday.
I know that we're under kind of a lockdown right now, but I would really like to try to do this in person and try to social distance this if we possibly can. I don't know if Larry, you think that's feasible?
Well, the thing we have to keep in mind is that if you do it in person, or whether you do it on Zoom as well, it's a public meeting, so you couldn't keep the public from attending.
Right.
And the problem we would run into, and not that people would be, I think that this is an exciting topic for them, but in the event that more people came than we were able to safely and socially distance in the meeting room, that would create a problem. I totally agree with you. In a perfect world, it'd be so much easier for us to do this in person, but
Right.
I just can't discount the fact is that it is a public meeting.
It is a public meeting, but if we have more people show up than we can set some kind of a camera and a monitor up and they can stay outside.
It is possible that we could locate people in the hallway. I'm not trying to talk you out of this, but
Right.
I think that we have to then prepare for the logistics as if that was going to happen. I will say past history will probably say that it probably would not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd have to prepare as if it would.
Right, but if we look at our track record on people coming to our monthly meetings, who's going to come to the workshop? I mean, I love them, but you know, I honestly, like Alan said, I mean, I like to roll the dice, my opinion, but I'll go with what the park district thinks is best, what you guys think is best.
Right.
But it's something like this, it is easier to do face to face, and you know, and I think in our meeting room we could definitely get enough of us in there properly spaced with our masks on to. But I understand your concern too. So
yeah, if I remember correctly, when we held our last public meeting. Oh, Terry's phone died. Okay, so Terry's going to sit over here. If you have any questions for Terry, she's sitting to my left. Just to let you know that when we held our last public meeting in there, I think we spaced it out that we came up with that besides the board and 4 staff people, which would be myself, Terry, Sarah, and Scott, that we could take, I believe it was 12 more people. And that would then give us the 6-foot social distancing. And again, if we ran into a problem and say there was 13 or 14, I could certainly ask Scott or Sarah to step in the hallway and listen and observe, but be out of the room. So it is possible, but I just, again, I don't want to lead you on and think that it's won't be problematic if we have a lot of people.
right. Well, like I said, we got or right now. One quick sec, Bo. Let me finish this. I'm old. My thought gets lost. I think we just, if we put it in the back of our minds as an option, maybe push comes to shove it. You know, if we can't, we can't. You know, but go ahead, Bo. Oh,
So call me Mr. Optimistic. This pandemic has me looking for all kind of silver linings in clouds. And what I want to say is, okay, so I agree with you. I haven't been through the process, but I know hard work and those kind of in the weeds details you got to get into. It is more comfortable to do it in person. I will say though that there are so many functions, whether it's on Zoom directly or using other things like, you know, the Google system or whatever kind of other, and we can talk about different applications where we can throw everything up on the screen and we can all be moving parts or writing in our notes or just kind of like have this virtual whiteboard or this virtual blackboard. And so Larry, what I would like to hear or see from your team is how can we enhance this? Like, you know, how can we make this, how can we mitigate some of the concerns that may come with not being face to face? And I can get you on the phone to do that. Just
sure, I hear you, and I just want to point out just a little bit of an obstacle here. I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but do keep in mind that we're entering a period here shortly where the district offices are going to be closed for holidays, for the maintenance that as I previously described to the board. And when we come back, it's going to be January 4th, Monday, with the potential of a meeting 3 days later, which means that we actually have to post this meeting and I have to send out the agenda items to you while we are closed. So it's a timing issue of not not trying to avoid this, but if this meeting was happening the 20th of January, I say, let's do it. Let's look at all the options. In this case here, I'm coming in on the 28th, 29th, and 30th to finish up the details on this workshop materials. I just question whether, I can pull all that together coming back in on a Monday, knowing we've been closed for 10 days already, and knowing that we probably have a lot of things waiting on our plates for us already. If the board tells us that that's what you want us to do, we will make that a priority. It's going to be challenging.
I do appreciate that. And I'm also giving considerations to, the holidays as well, and that vacation time and time with your family. So let me say this, I've got a couple of ideas that I think are light lifts that I will put kind of pen to paper, but send you an email around. And I think it links to something bigger I was going to mention earlier, but I'll put it in this place. Since we are using a lot of digital meetings now, I think it would be, sorry, let me ask you the question, because your team probably already has it, but do we have specific protocols, specific apps, and specific, I would say protocols and apps moving forward of how we're going to use these kind of technologies? Because the things I'm talking about, and like I say, I'll call you and we can talk more about it. It's just making sure that we share our screen, maybe possibly all being logged into the same app network, so we can move things around, and that can be, so it's not a huge lift, but I do appreciate that there may not be the time to do it by the 7th, but I do want to highlight, I think it's something broader that needs to be, maybe your team can discuss further with the board.
Well, again, if you want me just to lay all the cards on the table, I'm going to be very honest with you. If this is something that you want us to work towards for a future meeting, I'm all in 100%, and I want to do that. I'm just looking at where our staff are during through here to the end of December. I think that I just don't know if that's a bite that we can take right now. It's a huge bite for us, because again, Zoom is fairly new to us. I mean, Zoom has been around, and people, it's like a second hand for most people, but we probably only used it for the board meetings maybe a half a dozen times or so. Again, I just want to make sure that, you don't want to do something and then rush into it and find out you didn't think it through all the way. And I'm talking more about me. I would say to you, I'm getting some messages sent to me from staff about possibly looking at securing a larger facility to hold it there, or which then would require us to probably rent it. But also looking at, actually there is another option here. It's a little different, but we could use Cape Park Gymnasium, which would allow us to actually probably bring a lot of people in. It's just to keep in mind, it's a gym. It's not a meeting room, it's a gym. But we could certainly make that work, and that way we could accommodate the public, but at the same time, being able to bring charts in and things that we need for the meeting. And that would probably, one thing I have to be respectful of, there may be board members, there could be staff, there could be members of the public that, are apprehensive about going into a meeting room. We also have to recognize that too. Even though we follow all the social distancing, we have to be aware that right now things are ramping up with COVID-19, and it's kind of an uncomfortable period. But there's nothing that says that we can't look at that as an option. What I would ask maybe for the board to consider is select the date, and then give staff time to kind of talk and see what our options are, and let us get back to you, because we're not really asking you to select the format at this point. Because when I first wrote this, I wrote the report, you can see that I thought it was possibly going to be in person at the time. But let us kick the can a little bit and see what we can come up with options to the board. And again, I'm sorry if it's coming across the wrong way. It's not intended to. It's just a timing issue, especially with the holidays and people I know that are going to be gone and out of the area. I don't want to promise you something that then I can't deliver.
Yes. Thank you much. I look forward to your team coming up with ideas and communicating that with us. And you're right. Right now, it's balancing act. How much do we want to try to have in person, and kind of push that, and what is the added or benefit or drawback from being online. So I'm glad that you're thinking that way always.
All right. So
Alan
you're
has his hand up.
Alan.
So Larry, a couple things. First of all, this is considered, I would think, a special meeting.
Correct.
So this is a 24-hour agenda, or is it at 72?
This would be a special meeting, so it would be 24 hours.
24 hours, okay. I was going to suggest K-Part before you said it, but because we could spread out, because I'm assuming K-Part's not being used for anything right now, right, Sarah? Shake your head. No, not no, it should be yes.
It's not being used.
Yeah,
It's,
okay.
it's available, yes.
So, I mean, because, and I get it, this is a lot of work for staff to get ready for this. But again, you still have to send out the agenda. You have to send out all the materials. And, you know, yeah, it's only 24 hours instead of 72 hours, but just bringing up a couple points there. I'm okay with either date. If everybody's going Thursday, Thursday works for me. I'd rather have it in person.
That's all I want. I don't care what day. I mean, if we can have it in person, it just.
Well, I'll tell you what,
more,
you select the date, and then we will go ahead and we will work on in-house options, and we'll look at also, other types of options that are different than being in the building. And then we will share those with the board over the next 10 days, and then see if we can come up with something that works for everyone.
well, I mean, the 7th is good to me, you know?
Motion to approve 7th.
Second.
So. No more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
So the 7th, we got the date. You know, and that could be subject to change too. If something comes up
Right.
to facilitate it somewhere else, if it's not, then we'll get together, you know, but.
Well, there was a rhyme or reason behind selecting those dates. Your January board meeting is on the schedule for the 14th. And we thought that there's one thing that's definitely going to happen. We are going to be asking the board to take some sort of action at the meeting on the 9th or the 7th, and it sounds like it's going to be on the 7th, that will allow us to make mid-year budget adjustments. So that way I can bring that back to you on the 14th and you can approve it. Otherwise, we then have to hold either a special meeting or wait till February, and I prefer not to do either. I think it's important. Again, you're not going to see a whole litany list of programs and costs and budget transfers. Right. You're going to see no more than a handful, and we want to explain to you, obviously, why we need to do that. But it's no different than what you normally do. You normally do a budget, mid-year budget adjustments in January. But by putting the meeting ahead of our regular meeting in January, then we can prepare the January 14th agenda to reflect that.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll go January 7th.
You got to vote. Did you vote?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Great. Okay,
yes.
Terry. All right.
All right, next thing is payment of the bills. I have one, I gotta find it. I just gotta think what I wrote. Oh, a vacuum at Target. Where's Terry? Oh, that's right, she's sitting next to you.
Yes,
Terry, where are you at? Hey, hey, what kind of vacuum was that?
We bought a Dyson. We have found that they are heavy duty enough for commercial use. They're long lasting enough that we can get a long life out of them, and they perform better than any dust pumper with a bag that the commercial outlets will sell you. We just prefer the Dyson for its flexibility, and it can do multiple chores for us. So
okay,
that was more about 6 years old, so we wore it out.
Yeah, I was just pulling an Allen, you know, I found something I was curious on, and so I figured I'd put Terry on the spot, you know, so.
You know, I did hold my breath when I made that purchase, though. That is a lot of money.
But I think it was a real good investment, Scott. Those are great vacuums.
I got one right downstairs, Alan. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. I'm good. Anyone else got any questions on payment of the bills?
No, I was just going to state what this is for the new board members. By the government code, we just have to, all these bills have already been paid. We just ratify this. So as a board, we know what is being, dispersed through our district. That's pretty much what this is. And we just have to ratify that we know that they've paid these. That's what we're doing. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to ratify payment of the bills for both the district and for the community facilities district.
I'll second.
Oh, okay, any other discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye, Matt.
Aye.
All right, the next regular board meeting of the Board of Directors be on January 14, 2020 at 6:30 in the North Highlands Recreational Center, Watt Avenue. Meeting adjourned.